see the copy.
Dan, congratulations on the victory tonight. It was pretty thorough and complete victory for you this evening. I'm curious how the fight played out versus what you were expecting.
Yeah, he's a super tough guy, man. He was taking a lot of really hard shots, but I'm very happy with my performance. You know, it was a very dominant win, 30-26 on one of the judges' scorecards. So can't argue with that. And really, the performance was due to, you know, leading into the fight, people were just saying we're just a couple of tough guys going to go out there and brawl pretty much. And then he set me off. He said he was going to go out there and prove he was the better fighter and the classier fighter and had more skills, and that kind of put a little chip on my shoulder, you know, because I think that I'm one of the most skillful guys out there. So it put a chip on my shoulder, and I didn't want to go out there and just get into a wild brawl. I wanted to go out there and prove that I was the better fighter and the more skillful.
Pretty fantastic night for your team as well, though your buddies took your bonus money from you. But I'm just curious, I mean, what's going on there? I mean, you guys are becoming a powerhouse gym there. I mean, what's the secret to the success right now?
Our coaches, 100%. It's the coaches that you see in the corner. It's the coaches you see behind the scenes and the work that they've done. And really that comes down to the history of combat sport in New Zealand, you know, and the coaches that we've had. You know, we're so secluded, but we've been competing at a very high level and punching above our weight for a very long period of time. So there's a lot of knowledge on those islands down in the corner of the world.
You had a pretty phenomenal call out ready to go afterwards. Unfortunately, Dustin has already taken to Twitter and said, yeah, not interested. I'm interested in fighting Conor. Maybe you can go fight Cowboy in the meantime. So I'm curious, does fighting Cowboy interest you, or do you think you'll keep pursuing this Dustin thing and see if the UFC will put it together?
He's gonna fight who?
He wants to fight Conor, yeah.
If he wants to sit around chasing leprechauns, that's his own problem. If he wants a real fight, that'll take it. He knows where to find me.
Dan, congratulations on the win. Obviously, a lot of support from the Australians and the Kiwis here. With a win like that, are you excited to headline a card in New Zealand next year? What would that mean for you to headline that card?
Yeah, I feel I'm a 5-round fighter, so I wanted to take the full 15 minutes and really showcase that. I felt like if I had another 2 rounds, you know, that I would have stopped them for sure. With another 10 minutes in there, picking them apart, that would have stopped him. I wanted to prove that I'm ready for a 5-round fight. You know, you can't go in there and just blow these top 10, top 5 guys out of the water. You know, top 15, and then these unranked guys, you can go out there and do that. You know, but they're so tough. This skill level so high that you have to match that. So that's what I was there. I was out there tonight to prove that I want a 5-round. I want a main event, 25 minutes, man.
Obviously, Al is a great fighter. I mean, you've had some great wins before, but what do you think this does for you now, beating a classy guy like Al? He's a guy like Khabib had trouble putting away, and you put on such a dominant performance. What do you think that says about you and where you belong in the division?
Yeah, he is. That's the number 6 ranked guy in the world. He fought for a title fight 2 ago. You know, that's why Dustin was on my hit list. You know, I wanted to follow Khabib's last 2 fights. I wanted to take Ally Aquina, then I wanted to fight Dustin because he fought him last.
Just quickly, there was a video that surfaced on the UFC Twitter page of you guys watching Brad Riddell do his thing in the back, and it looked like a pretty emotional time. It was you, Israel, and the City Kickboxing team. I'm just wondering, what was that like, being in the back watching Brad fight? Did it take any sort of focus away from your fight? I mean, it looked like you guys were jumping around. Sort of, it was almost the fight before the fight in a lot of ways.
Yeah. We create energy, you know. A lot of people, you know, they shy away from things, or they don't want teammates on the same card because they don't want it to take away from their energy or drain their energy. But what we have, you know, we had 2 fighters fight last night on a show here in Melbourne, and then the night before that had another fighter fight there, and it just, our coaches, Eugene, just stacked the weekend, you know, keep us busy as possible. This is what we do, man. This is what we do at City Kickboxing. This is what our coaches do. So we wanted to, energy is created, you know. So that didn't take away from anything, watching Brad there and getting excited and jumping around, because we're not putting on a show for the cameras. None of this we're putting on a show. that's just how we feel, and that hyped us up for our fights, you know. And I'm sure Israel watching my fight hyped him up for his fight. So energy is created. That's kind of our philosophy there.
Dan, those leg kicks you were chopping with Al really hurt him. You were imposing his will. Was there any point in the fight where you realized that he wasn't going to come and get you and that you had this in the bag?
He was so tough, and he was still very dangerous. You know, the times that I did go in there and attempt to put on a little more pressure, he planted his feet and he let me know that he was still there and he was still in the fight. He definitely let me know that. At no point was he really creating opportunities, or at no point did he look for a way out, in by any means necessary. He was there to fight. You know, even at the end when he was coming forward, he wasn't just wildly coming forward and throwing punches at me, man. He was very calculated with what he did, and he wasn't leaving. He still made sure that he wasn't leaving any openings.
If there's a long line when you guys get back to the city kickboxing gym, months wait for enrollment, do you want to take any of that compensation?
No, I actually have my own gym in Auckland and New Zealand as well, so we got more than enough space for everyone.
What's up, Dan? I just wanted to ask about that call out. It was pretty aggressive. You're not generally that aggressive when you're asking for another fight. Was there anything behind that?
Oh, my post fight's always pretty aggressive. You know, you get hyped up in the moment. There's a lot of adrenaline. I think I have the potential to do that a lot. I think it's just people who haven't kind of figured out how to trigger me yet. I think the guys at the gym kind of know how to trigger me and get me going, so they try to keep away from it. But I'm sure at some stage people are going to figure out how to trigger me, and you'll start seeing a lot more of that.
And you showed tonight that you can actually win on the scorecards. I think that's only your second win by judges' scorecard. Is that sort of a way of you showing, you know, I'm here, this is what I can do, sort of a breakout fight in a way like that?
Yeah, I feel like it did answer a lot of questions in my game with the grappling as well. It answered a lot of questions. You know, Al is a very strong wrestler, and he couldn't get me down. He couldn't hold me down, and I feel like I dominated the grappling exchanges in that fight as well. So I feel like it answered a lot of questions.
Dan, you've been around for a long time, especially in the local scene, mate, and I want you to try and tell me the difference between your first walk in MMA and the one that you did today.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So my first fight, mate, we're going back 2009 when I made my debut, early 2009. At a YMCA in Auckland, you know, for a pro MMA fight, and there was only not too many people there, and cage was falling apart and things, and then to see the growth of the sport is incredible. You know, even going back to my first UFC fight, you know, the amount of attention that was around that, the amount of eyes, and you know, that comes down to Israel. That comes down to his ability to kind of capture that mainstream audience and get people's eyes and attention. So I feel like everyone in the UFC and everyone of us fighters owes him a lot of credit for that.
And in my opinion, mate, that was your best performance to date. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch the film, but I felt very comfortable in there. I felt like I was doing very well, but I'll always find things to work and develop and improve my game for sure.
And Dan, just at the end of the fight, I saw there was a really cool moment between you and your family. You were sort of walking out of the octagon, and your partner and your child were there, and you were in front of a packed capacity stadium. Just talk to us about what that moment was like when you were able to see them for the first time after beating the toughest challenge of your career.
Yeah, so when I was there, at the prep point, I kind of seen her and caught my eye, and I looked and she looked away because she didn't want to distract me, which is good of her. But yeah, that moment will go down because she hasn't been in a fight since the last show in Auckland, which is 2.5 years. I've been fighting on the road, fighting in America. So to come back home and fight in front of a supportive crowd and have my family there meant the world to me. To have her and my baby there, and I'm just thankful that they were cage side, because I told the UFC very early on, you know, if I knock them out, I'm diving out of the crowd, and if you put it up the back, I'm not coming back. So that's why I was very happy that they had a cage side. So if that would have happened, she would have been nice and close, and I could have got my post fight.
All right. Thanks, Dan.